Before we jump to other kind of operators in Java, let's talk a bit more about that plus operator, that addition. In the previous video, I said that if we have two integers, for example, a and b, we could have added those two integers via using that plus sign. For example, int answer is equal to a plus b. This is one usage of this plus operator. The other one is, for example, if we had two strings, two texts, we can add those two texts together. Let me show you what am I talking about. For example, if we had a text called hello, which its value is hello, and another text for the name, let's put my name. We can add these two texts together by using that plus. I can say string greeting is equal to hello plus the name. Let's print this greeting and see what will be printed in our console. You can see that these two texts have been added together. We can also add a space in here to see that text a little bit better. Also, instead of two strings, I can have one string and one integer. For example, if I put a instead of name in here, and if I run the program, you can see that the text and the number has been added together. This is what we call concatenating in programming, adding the two texts or a text and a number together. Okay, let's move on. These addition, deduction, division, and multiply were the arithmetic operators, but we have other kind of operators in Java as well. For example, the first one is relational operators. Let's talk about relational operators, and to be specific, one kind of them which is called comparison operators. We can compare two numbers together. For example, we can say a less than b. Of course, we need to save this into a boolean or something because it's not a statement. Let's do that. Boolean answer is equal to a less than b. This is a condition in here. We are checking that if a is less than b, then the answer would be true. If it's not, the answer would be false. We can print our answer. Shift plus F10 to run our application. This is true because 4 is less than 5. And if we had 6, for example, in here, you can see it's false. The other comparison operator is greater than. We can check that as well. It should be true because 6 is greater than 5. The other one is checking the equality between two integers. We can do that by putting two equals. One equal is assignment, and two equal is the operator for comparing two integers, comparing the equality. Shift F10, it's false. But if both of them is 5, the sentence is true. The other comparison operator is greater than or equal to something. For example, a greater than or equal to b. This is checking that if a is greater than b or if a is equal to b. Right now it should be true because both of them are equal. Let's run our application and we can see true. But if a is equal to 3, we know that any of those conditions are not true. So if we run it, we should see false. Also, we have less than equal. You can guess it. It will check if a is less than b or if a is equal to b, which is true in this case because 3 is less than 5. The other comparison operator is checking that if two numbers are not equal to each other. For example, this exclamation mark means not in programming. Whenever we are using it, it means that we are adding a negative meaning to our comparator or whatever we are doing with that. The condition is a is not equal to b. which in this case is true, so our answer is true. These were the basic comparison operators. You can work around with them if you are confused. That shouldn't be really hard. The other kind of operators that I'm going to talk about is logical operator. For example, let's have our answer once again is equal to a equal to 3, let's say, or we can add the or operator by using these two lines, or a is equal to, let's say, 6. Let's print our answer. We are checking that if a is equal to true or if a is equal to 6. If any of those conditions is true, so our answer would be true. Right now a is 3, so answer should be true. You can see that it's true. But for example, if we had 4 in here or 7, it's false. The other operator is AND. We can add that by adding two AND sign. In this case, we are checking that if both of those conditions are true. Right now, it should be false. You can see that. But for example, if we had 3 for A, you can see that it's false as well. But it really doesn't mean anything in here because A cannot be two numbers. We can check for B, for example. If A is equal to 3 and if B is equal to 5, we know that both of these conditions is true, so our answer should be true. Okay, these were the two logical operators that we probably be using in our course a lot. Let's talk about if statement, about conditional statements. Conditional statements are useful for the times that we are going to check some condition. For example, one of the conditional statement is if statement. And here's the syntax. We write if, a pair of parentheses, inside the parentheses our condition. For example, I can say if A is less than B, then a pair of curly braces. Inside the curly braces, I can do my operation. For example, print something. Let's say A is less than B. Right now it should be true, this condition, so the code inside these curly braces should be executed. Let's run it. We can see that A is less than B. Let's add 7 for A, for example. Now this condition should be false. We now see that the code inside these curly braces hasn't been printed. This is one way of passing the condition to the if statement. The other way is to define a boolean, for example, up in here. Let's say answer is equal to A less than B. Then I can pass my answer to this if statement. For example, I can say if answer is equal to true. Notice that we are comparing two values, so we need two equals. If we run it, we should get the same result. You can see that there is a highlight in here, and that's because IntelliJ is warning me about something. And if you take a look at the first warning, it says that answer can be simplified to just answer. Means that we can delete this part. This way, the Java compiler will know that if our answer is true, then execute this line of code. And if we run it, we can see the same result. Also, if we want to check that if answer is not true, we can add an exclamation mark at the beginning of our condition, our boolean. If we run it, we can see that this line of code has been executed because our answer is false. Let's change our condition once again to A less than B for just no reason. We can check multiple conditions by using this if statement. After the curly brace, I can type something like else, another pair of curly brace, and let's print something else in here. Let's say B is less than A. This time, only this line of code has been executed because the first condition, which is A less than B, is not true. We can have multiple conditions inside an if statement. Let's write another if statement. I'm going to check if A is positive or negative. I can say if A is less than 0, then another pair of curly brace. Let's print something. A is negative. I can add another condition in here by using else if this time. I should add another condition in here. Let's say A is greater than 0. If that's true, then print this line. Let's say if A is positive. And also I can have an else in here. If none of those conditions is true, we know that A is 0. Right now A is 7, so this second condition should be executed, means that A is positive. And as you can see, only that condition has been executed. You can have as many else if as you want in an if statement, but you can only have one else. Basically, this else at the end is useful for default values. You are checking multiple conditions and you only care about those conditions, like we did in here. If none of those conditions is true, so we will do something else in here. We have another conditional statement called switch. Let's delete this if and let's create our switch statement. We can write a switch statement by saying switch, a pair of parentheses. Inside the parentheses, I need to pass the variable that I'm going to switch on. For example, I can pass A in here. I need a pair of curly brace. Inside the curly brace, I need to check for different cases. For example, in case A is equal to 1, we just type 1. Then print A is 1. After every case, we need to add another line called break. I will talk about this break. We can have multiple cases as well. For example, in case A is, let's say, 2. Add another break in here. Also, we need a default as well, like else in if statement. In case A is whatever other than 1 or 2. Let's print A is not 1 or 2. For the default, we need a break as well. Right now, A is 7, so this default should be executed. Let's run our application. We can see the default case, but if we change it to, let's say, 1, A is 1. Let's talk a bit about this break in here. This break will cause the code to break out of the switch statement. For example, if we didn't have this break in here and try to run our application, you can see that even though A is 1, we are printing both of these conditions. So don't forget to add the break in your switch statement in every case that you are checking. These two switch statement and if statement were two kind of conditional statements. In the next video, we will talk about loops. So stay tuned for the next video and see you in that video.